Welcome to another knitting pod. I'm Lena, and this is my living room in Boulder, Colorado. Welcome back if you've watched any of my previous episodes. If not, I'm glad you're here, and I hope you're ready to chat about some knitting because I've got a lot to chat about. So I'm just going to jump right in. But before I jump right in, I do have to say a huge thank you to all of you who have watched, and especially to those of you who have left a super kind comment. If you've watched my previous episodes, you know that this was a huge jump out of my comfort zone. It was a leap of faith. It was being dragged, kicking and screaming to do something I really wanted to do, but felt zero comfort in doing. And the number of you who have left kind words of encouragement, I just can't tell you how much it means to me. So I couldn't start without acknowledging that, I think sometimes we can offhandedly give someone kind words and we don't know how much it means to them. And this is one of those times. So if you have left a message, thank you so much. It has given me just so much confidence to continue forward. And just my intent has always been, when I wanted to start this, was to connect with people who felt the same way about yarn and knitting. And even if I felt like I connected to one person, I felt like it would be a success. That was my only intention. And it's been just incredibly joyful to connect to each and every one of you through this medium. So I'm grateful to you. And I wanted to say that before we get started. So anyway, jumping in now for real. My first project, I have to update you on my Trinigan. In my last episode, I discussed how I had finally finished my Trinagan, which is a pattern by Andrea Mowry, Drea Renee Knits, who I adore. And I had had some issues with the sleeve. Even after I'd blocked it, it had this weird lumpy bumpy thing. And it was really bothering me. And so many of you were so kind and gave me ideas and tips. And I was so grateful to each and every one of you for those ideas. And I do think I ended up being able to fix it. So I'm going to show you my once again reblocked Trinagan, and I do believe we have mostly fixed our issue here. Somebody had said the proportion of underarm stitches to the number of stitches that were picked up for the sleeve must have been off, therefore creating like that bulge, and I do think it was something like that. But I have to say it's bizarre to me because I followed the directions. I have not been knitting long enough to be, taking beautiful patterns and putting my own spin on them. So I do have to say I'm not sure how it happened. However, all's well that ends well, and I do believe it has blocked out. What I ended up doing was, I think this only works because this is super oversized and the circumference here is so large. And as such, I kept thinking, like, if I could just get it to dry, to get it super wet, and then to get it to dry in the shape I wanted it to, then it would stay in that shape, because yarn is super malleable, as we all know, and which is one of its most magical qualities to me, is like the fact that it just gets wet and then it becomes this thing we can kind of play with to suit what we want it to be. So I have a foam roller that I use all the time. You know what I'm talking about, like one of those cylindrical foam things where you lie down and roll like your muscles when you're sore. So I have a really long one, and I just felt like it was exactly the right circumference for the sleeves, and I ended up being correct. I tried it out before I blocked it, and it fit just perfectly in here. So I got it nice and soaking wet. I let it sit in warm water with some wool wash for a couple of hours. I really wanted to, soak the fibers through and through. And then I, dried it on towels, and then I slipped the foam roller through both sleeves, and then I set it on my drying rack, and I put a big pillow into the body part and laid the top of the cardigan across the pillows so that it was like all filled in. I was worried that if I just put the foam roller and then let the fabric drape over that and go flat, that it was going to create a bulge here and fix one problem and create another problem. And I do not have the goods up top to, hold up the foam roller's gift that would create. So it worked beautifully. I let it dry like 90%. Then I took the pillow out because the pillow obviously got soaked. This was all just trial and error. It was me taking a risk because I had nothing to lose. I really needed to try to fix this problem. And so once it was 90% dry, I'll insert a picture here. I ended up kind of propping that foam roller up on some cabinets and letting the whole thing dry while hanging. The last 10%. I was okay with the weight of the cardigan kind of being pulled down. I really wanted it to open up even a little more to get a little bit more length. And that's exactly what happened. I have to say, rarely do you engage in an experiment that ends up so well, but it really did. I'm so thrilled. I'm going to slip this off if I can do it. Sorry, costume change. Because I figure you might actually want to see it on, and it doesn't look cute with that black shirt. But here we go. I'm so thrilled with it. I think it is now a piece I am so proud of. Great. My hair now looks like I changed clothes. I'm so proud of it and pleased. And if you can see, it no longer has that weird bump. So yeah, I think the lesson here is you can do a lot with blocking. Don't hesitate to kind of bully your knits a little bit, within reason, within what you're willing to risk, I guess. This is Spincycle yarn, and one of these is superwash, one of them is not. If you want details on the yarns, you can go back to my previous episode. I'm not going to rehash it here, but even their superwash yarn has a wooliness. It's not that so many superwash yarns I've used before are just so slippery and they've almost lost their woolly quality. They're almost more, I hate to use the word synthetic feeling, but they're a little bit less woolly just because of the chemical processes that they've gone through. Spincycle is just not like that. I think it might be one of my favorite qualities of it. I love the texture and the feel, and it really stood up to aggressive blocking. It didn't stretch out you can see, I don't think it looks stretched out. I think it's just beautiful and perfect, and I'm thrilled with it. I really recommend this pattern. I know Andrea Mowry just released her Shiftigan, which is kind of similar in terms of these little blips. She has a whole shift series, and I think the Shiftigan is the final, cardigan version of that series. But I know it is, number one, not mosaic color work. It's not mosaic knitting. It's color work, stranded color work, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's what she said. And it is steeked. So those are two, I don't know. I know I have never steeked, and I know there's probably a lot of you out there like me that aren't really super keen on it. Someday, but not today. Not today, Andrea Mowry. Anyway, my point in bringing the Shiftigan up was it has a very different aesthetic. It has the very, you know, buttoned up cardigan look where it's a circular neck and it comes all the way up. That is not a flattering look on me. I'm not drawn to that style for myself. So if you like that, you know, the blip kind of vibe, but you wanted something oversized, like more like a coat vibe rather than a buttoned up cardigan vibe, I highly suggest this. It was so fun. I used worsted weight and DK and they went together beautifully. And I couldn't recommend it more. I love it. And I hope you like it too. I am thrilled with how the colors are moving all over the cardigan, that the both sides don't match. I love that. I think it just has this super organic look and I couldn't be more pleased. It's so comfortable and yeah, highly recommend. Go forth and cast on a Trinigan and report back if you liked it as much as I did. Onwards and upwards. Let's move on. I feel like I've talked about this project so much, but whenever you run into a snag, I guess it becomes more of a thing. All right, what's next? What else have I finished? Oh my gosh, y'all. I finished my first painting brick sock. Are you ready? Gather yourself, take a deep breath, and prepare to see the prettiest sock you've ever seen. Look. I know. It is just so good. It speaks for itself, despite the fact that I'm going to speak on its behalf regardless. I couldn't love this more. This was my first sock. I discussed this a little bit more last time. I had no desire to ever knit a sock. It just didn't really get sock knitters. It just seemed like, you know, the socks you get at the store seem perfectly good to me. I didn't see what value knitted socks would be adding until Stephen West, of course, decided to enter this sock world. And then I couldn't resist. I mean, who could resist this? Anyway, I cast it on, I finished it, and it was just the most fun knit ever. It was the directions were just crystal clear. Starts with the folded hem, which I highly recommend taking the extra time to do it because the squish factor of this cuff is, I want everything to be this squishy. It just was so glorious. I talked about last time that you have to, you know, fold it and then knit through the stitch plus the other stitch, its corresponding stitch from the bottom. And I found that to be a little persnickety the first time I did it. I used a tiny crochet hook because I thought it was a lot easier to pull the yarn through just because it's so tiny. It was getting hard with the knitting needle. So I highly recommend using a crochet hook. And then these bricks are just so much fun. I cannot tell you. It has the look to me of stained glass almost. And it looks so complicated, but it's so simple. It's just garter stitch, and then you slip these stitches while you are making these little bricks. The bricks are stockinette, and round you go. And it's one of those things where the little tiny rounds go so fast that you just are so addicted to casting on the next color. One thing I will say for 100% sure, I'm going to show you, I did not trim the ends purposely because I needed you to see this firsthand. Look how many ends, okay? Now, Stephen West loves you. So he has a technique called the Weave and Steven that you just have to use if you're going to knit these socks. Like, it's so easy. Every time you put in a new color, you do the Weave and Steven. He has a a video on YouTube showing you how. I will link it. It is the only way I weave in ends with colors, and I knit with a lot of colors because I love bright and funky colors. So all of these are already woven in. Once I block this, I'm just gonna snip it and off I pop to the most glorious sock in the world. But listen to me, do the weave-in Steven. If you are new to socks and intimidated as I was by the heel and the heel turn and the gusset and all these words that are new, you know, it's kind of like when you knit a sweater for the first time and you're like, short rows, I don't even know what a short row is, and the shaping, it's the same thing. It's just tiny and cute, and it takes a lot shorter of time. And the way he does it is, you know, this very simple garter ridge heel flap. And if you can read and follow directions, you too can knit a sock. I know you can. If I can, you can. I talked about it in the last video how in Stephen West's video about this, he talked about his friend Linda. And I found, well, let me pause. If you didn't see that video, I was just saying that in his video, he talks about his friend Linda taught him how to make socks and finished his first sock for him. And I found a video on Linda's YouTube channel of Stephen West and Linda chit-chatting. I'm going to link it in the show notes, and you are going to watch it because it is worth its weight in gold. It is so entertaining. And if you are obsessed with Stephen West like I am, go for Stephen and stay for Linda, because their chemistry is so delightful. And to hear him talk about socks and like how off-put he seems, and how he had cast on this painting brick sock and he was over it, and Linda was like, I'm gonna finish it and you're gonna write the pattern. And I think we all owe Linda a huge debt of gratitude, because I don't think if it weren't for her, I don't think I would be in love with this sock. Where would I be without this sock? I don't know. So thank you, Linda. I think this is a co-project between Stephen and Linda. So please go watch that video. It is so fun and entertaining. I love getting to kind of dip into someone's creative process, and it just was a really good watch. I watched it twice because I'm a huge nerd, and I really found it valuable. At one point they were talking about the pink that they used in that painting brick sock, and they said it was the birch hollow fibers sock yarn in neon fishnets, I believe. And of course, I would say it's unsurprising that pink is my favorite color. It can't be helped. It's just, you can't fight nature. So I instantly found a ball of it online. They only had one ball left, but I bought it and it should be here this week. I'm so excited. I will show you next time. He was raving about this shade of pink. That's all I needed to hear. I'm on it. I don't know what I'm gonna make with it. Part of me wants to make painting bricks leg warmers. Stay with me. I know you're like, what are you talking about? It's not the 80s. But it would be, I teach fitness and yoga, and I feel like it would be so fun to have leg warmers that I could wear with leggings just around the studio. I think that would be so fun. I don't know. Tell me what you think. I don't know. I found some patterns for leg warmers on Ravelry. Pearl Soho has a really pretty ribbed leg warmer, but I believe it was DK or worsted weight. I don't know. I just think it would be really fun to have them in this. Like, there's something about the painting bricks that is just, it's so pleasing to the eye. It's so three-dimensional because, like you can see, it is three-dimensional. That garter stitch sticks up and the stockinette is very flat. It's just amazing. I made a painting honeycombs shawl once. I gave it to a friend, so I don't have it to show you. It was so beautiful. If I can find a picture, I'll pop it up here. It was absolutely beautiful, and I fell in love with that pattern then, and I'm still in love with it now. I feel like maybe I just dreamt this, like wishful thinking, but I feel like Stephen West said he was going to release a Painting Honeycombs cardigan. Please do that. I want to make it. I want to make it with all the colors. I can't say enough about this pattern. It is so fun. I also have to say, I think it's just so thoughtfully done that on the bottom of the sock, because it would be uncomfortable to step on these honeycombs, the bottom is just stockinette stripes. And I'm in love with the way this looks. The stripe is just so cool. And now I want to cast on a striped sweater. I've never been someone who like was drawn to stripes, but now I'm thinking I want to make something striped. And I was thinking about the Douglas Cardi by Andrea Mowry. If any of you are familiar with that pattern, it's an oversized cardigan with pockets. And she uses like these heathered, sophisticated colors, but I want to make it in like unicorn barf colors. So I think that might be on my list. So we'll see. I cast on sock number 2. Look, she's so beautiful. Sock number 2 is going even faster because I'm just following the first one and it fits perfectly. Oh my gosh. It fits perfectly. This folded cuff went quicker. I'm just going to make a little match. I'm going to use the same colors. Some of the ones I used on the leg part are singles, which I'm not using on the foot. The foot is all sock yarn, so plied and has some nylon in it, because I swear if I had a hole in these, I would cry. That's the other thing I'm drawn to about leg warmers. I just don't ever want something bad to happen to my new favorite thing. I'm telling you, if these didn't fit, I would put them in a frame and hang them on the wall. That's how much I love them. They're like art. So this is the happiest thing that has happened to me all year. Stephen West and Linda. I see you, Linda. I know that you made this happen, and I'm just so grateful because it was more fun than anybody has any business having. I'm just so happy to be a knitter, because if you can't make this, you're just missing out on life. I just don't think you're living your best life. Okay, that was a success. This was a success. That must be balanced out by a fail. And I only realized this was a fail late last night. And I literally dreamt about it all night. It was very upsetting to me. I'm not gonna lie. It is my weekender. My weekender is a fail, you guys. Talked about it before. I think I talked about it last week. I was knitting Andrea Mowry's weekender sweater in the worsted weight in, what's the fiber? Julie Asselin in the nurtured base in the color Dewdrop. No, just Dew or Dewdrop. I think it's Dew. Dew. Look at this gorgeous color. So what is the fail, you ask? Because this is such a simple sweater. Now, here's the deal. I tried to make a lesson out of this for my children, although the lesson I think is just for me. And I was just trying to, act like it was a parenting moment or something, but it was really not. It was just a fail. The simpler something is, the less likely we are to be careful. I was like, reverse stockinette, knit ridge across the top and back. Easy. I got you, girl. Oh, I finished the whole body. 16 inches, y'all, of knitting has happened. And as I was knitting, every time I looked, so you knit it on the wrong side because you're knitting, but the whole thing is worn on the right. Yeah, the right side is reverse stockinette, okay? So all purled, but she is not mean, and she lets you knit it all. Every time I looked at the right side, I was noticing this. Do you see? this weird ridge alongside the purposeful ridge, which is that knit column. There's this weird thing happening here. And I didn't think to question, maybe I was doing something wrong. I was like, that'll block out. I'm sure that's just a little tensioning issue, because if you're knitting and then suddenly you purl and then you go back to knitting, just that change in bringing your yarn to the front, I feel like it changes the tension of the yarn there. So it made sense to me. So I finished the whole body, like I said, 16 inches of knitting. Then you put some stitches on, the back stitches on hold, and you work on the front. So I busted out my pattern to make sure I was putting the proper number of stitches on hold, etc. And I'm looking at the pattern because so now you're going back and forth rather than round. So you're knitting and purling back. And I notice it says on the ridge, you slip it one time instead of always knitting that stitch or purling that stitch or whatever. You are slipping it once, knitting it the second time, slipping it once, knitting it the second time. And I did not do that through the whole body. Every time I hit this ridge stitch, I was actually making that knit, not slipping it. I don't know if that's making sense. And I think that is what has created this ridge. And I don't think there's a way to fix it. My friend Sharon was like, I think you can drop that whole column and fix it, but I think this tensioning issue is not going to be changed. I think it's too late, and I don't like the way that looks. I know this doesn't look great right now because it needs to be blocked. It's like a very woolly wool, and I think it'll look a lot smoother and more even when it's blocked, but this is gonna bother me. And whether it should bother me or not is sort of beside the point. At this point, I know it's gonna bother me. So I have two options. Maybe drop the column and try to fix it, which I'm not really sure I know how to fix that, because it's like undoing the knit stitches and having to have a slipped knit stitch each alternating row. I don't know. I'm sure I could find some help on that. But if I did all that and then I would block it aggressively and see if that weird thing disappeared, or I'm gonna rip it out. And after sleeping on it and dreaming on it, because I'm not kidding, I dreamt about this last night, I think I'm more inclined to rip it out. To be honest, I'm getting a little bored. It's a little, because like I said, it's all stockinette mostly. And then once you split, it's stockinette in the flat, which is knit one way, purl the other. I think it's gonna be gorgeous, but this is that kind of fabric where the pattern is so simple that the mistake is gonna show. And the whole feature is that column. And if that isn't like nice and smooth with that beautiful ridge showing, I just think it's gonna look sloppy. Like in this, for instance, if something were slightly off, it's so busy that I don't think you could see it that much. This is the opposite. It's so simple and clean that if something is off, I feel like that's just gonna be highlighted and it's gonna drive me crazy. I'm so frustrated because, I don't know. I think I've been working on this for 2 weeks, and it's a lot of knitting, and I was loving it. But that sudden thunderbolt realization is I don't think there's anything to be done. Please let me know. I know some of you had said you have made one. I mean, this is a bazillion people have made it. It's truly embarrassing that this is the project I screwed up. But like I said, I think when things are simple, our brain almost fills in what we think it is, the answer, rather than like if something is really complicated, you're gonna stop and contemplate it and make sure you understand before you go. this I clearly was just not. Like with the sock, I was so precise and made sure everything, I understood what I was doing, and I think I just assumed that I understood with this. So please let me know what you think. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not ripping it out yet because, like I said, I'm halfway there. Maybe one of you will say that you did the same thing. Then I would feel less stupid. Whatever, we are going to just leave that aside, and it is what it is. That is part of the knitting life. You've got some wins, some loses, and it's not a loss. It's a learning experience. I promise you I won't make that mistake again. I will be very conscious of reading the directions twice. And if you've ever knit an Andrew Mowry pattern, I mean, I love her so much, not only because I love her aesthetic, but I love the way she writes patterns. She writes them so clearly. You just know it's gonna turn out. And that's why I know the sleeve thing was a me thing. Another viewer, not to skip back, but I did want to say, a viewer had suggested I go on to Ravelry and see if other people had had this lumpy, bumpy problem, and no one had. So I know it was a me thing. There was just something that happened there, which is fine. We fixed it. So yeah, such is life with the weekender. After the weekender, I realized like I wanted to cast on something that was simple, but had something more technique-wise to explore. And once I fell down the Linda YouTube channel rabbit hole, I stumbled upon one of her episodes where she made a ranunculus that she's wearing, and it is so beautiful. And as I am late to every party, I think I'm going to cast on a ranunculus. I know you've all made like 17 and I've made 0. But watching her talk with it on, it was so beautiful. And everybody talks about how fun and fast of a knit it is. And I love the neckline, and the neckline looks intricate, but then the body is really simple. So I'm really drawn to that. And I'm also drawn to the fact that you don't have to swatch. I don't know how this is, but apparently you can knit it in any weight with the same needle, and it turns out, I don't know, it seems like it must, because so many people have made it. And I have the yarn I want to use. I love it so much. I bought it. It is Pearl Soho Linen Quill. I believe the colorway is Fresh Nutmeg. I bought it when they were having the sale around December. I wanted to make a Daydreamer sweater by Andrew Mowry with this, but it called for sport weight, and this is fingering, and I thought I could swing it, but every time I tried to swatch the cables, they were turning out really weird. So I think I really do need a sport weight for that. But I thought this would make a gorgeous ranunculus. I love this color so much. It's warm and dimensional, and I love the linen-y halo it gives. It gives it such a rustic look. It has alpaca linen. I've used it before and I love it. It's such a beautiful yarn. And it comes on sale often. They were having a 25% off sale, and I can't remember how much each ball was. I don't want to speak incorrectly, but I almost want to say like $12 or something. Is that right? I don't know. I'll look back. I'll leave it in the show notes. I'm sure you've used this. People are so obsessed with that half and half triangles wrap. I'm sure you've run across this. But anyway, this is what I think I'm going to make the ranunculus with. I want one that's like really light and airy. I love the look of mohair held double, but I struggle using mohair. And this has that kind of look, not mohair, but just kind of floofy. And I love this very earthy color. I don't have anything in this color. I think it looks so pretty against my skin. Believe it or not, I don't only knit neon things. Sometimes I do knit a neutral. And so that is what I'm planning. A ranunculus in long sleeves with a lot of positive ease. I will pop a picture in of what I'm aiming for. It's a picture from the pattern where it's really boxy and oversized. I love that look, just easy, breezy. So yes, I'm going to cast that on. I'm hoping today if I have time, if not tomorrow for sure. I do think the cast on is going to take me a little moment of focus. I don't think it's just something I can throw onto my needles because I have never made one, and the cast on was a little intricate. Like the one I was going to do was a provisional cast on that looks like a tubular cast on or something. I don't know. There is, if you haven't knit one and if you're interested in knitting one, there's one big positive about being late to every party is that there are a lot of resources out there. And I ran across one this morning. I don't remember what it's called, but I'll put it in the show notes. It was some yarn shop that was doing a ranunculus knit along and posting like in-depth pattern help on YouTube, on their YouTube channel. And I thought it was really, really helpful, like unbelievably helpful. I know I'm going to mess up the name, but it was like Sun Dragon or something. Again, I'll put it in the show notes. But if you are interested, I love having resources when I'm feeling a little intimidated, and YouTube is just like an it's like a private, knitting teacher. There's just nothing you can't find on YouTube. So that is that. I'm going to take a sip of water. I'm sorry, but my throat is super dry. What else? I have one more finished object for you. It's the Home Camisole by Kadri. I showed you, it's kind of got a crease because I had folded it. It is very beautiful. It is done. I ran out of yarn. I was using the Pearl Soho Season Alpaca that I had in my stash, and I ran out of it. It's long enough, but I didn't have enough to do the I-cord bind off and edging on all the neck hole and the arms and all. So I decided to go with this contrast color and lean into the fact that I didn't have enough gray. Excuse me, I'm hiccuping. So I really love this garment. It's a beautiful layering piece. The reason I'm not wearing it is because, similar to like every tank top out there, the armhole is too big for me. And the V is very deep. I wish I had made the straps shorter. I thought I had made them short enough. I don't think I accounted for the fact that when you knit the whole body, the weight of it is going to pull the straps down even more. So when I had done the cups and the straps, it was perfect length, but then once the weight of the body was on, it pulls it down and it made it just too big. She says in the directions to cast on extra armhole stitches, and I did not. I did not cast on any extra underarm stitches, and it's still really deep. I think I'd have to be really conscious of the bra I wore under this. Like I have a lot of bralettes, kind of, if you know what I'm talking about, that are easy to layer under tank tops, and I'm going to try that with this. It's a gorgeous piece to wear under a cardigan like this. I just don't think I would wear it on its own because it's a little too loosey-goosey up here, and I don't think I'd be comfortable with it. I really liked this pattern though. I just think that if you are going to make it, be really conscious of how deep that V is. It was a fun, quick knit. I mean, the long thing that was the most, like my least favorite part was having to go back and pick up all the underarm stitches to do This, I think I would have loved it if it had been in the gray. I would have liked it even more. So if I ever do one, I'll make sure I have enough yarn. I didn't want to buy another ball of this Pearl Soho Season Alpaca. I was using this to use up what I had, and I'm very concerned. I talked about this last time. I'm very concerned that this gorgeous superwash 100% baby alpaca, which is like softer than a dream, I'm worried it's gonna pill like crazy. So I didn't want to spend another like $30 or whatever on a ball if it's gonna pill like crazy. So we shall see. I will let you know, because I'm telling you, if this doesn't pill, I would knit everything in this. It is so soft, and the weight and heaviness of it, it's a dream. Like I will wear this under things because it feels so good next to skin, and zero itch. So highly recommend Kadri's home camisole. I've made the home cardigan and I love it. Love the yarn so far, but I'll report back. Okay? Deal. I will let you know, because you know I hate pilling. It's horrible. Okay. Time is a-flying. I don't want to keep you much longer. What else did I want to talk about? I'm going to cast on the Ranunculus. I'm going to wait on the stripy thing. There's another pair of socks. Oh my God, y'all. Now that like I have a new thing to obsess with on Ravelry, I was just cruising the sock section of Ravelry and I came across this pattern called, I think they're the Euphorium socks. They were published last year in one of the Pom Pom magazines. Oh my gosh, I'm going to put a picture here so you can just drool over them like I am. I want to make these so bad. I think they are so cute, and they literally just look like Steven and Linda in that video I was telling you about. We're talking about, he's like, maybe if I could just make like shawls for your feet. This literally has that vibe because of that airy mohair. It gives it this, it just looks so special and beautiful. I'm obsessed. But they don't sell it as a single pattern. I think you have to buy that whole Pom Pom magazine issue. And there was nothing else in there that I was drawn to knit, which is such a shame, because usually there's at least 2 or 3 things in each of those magazines that I really love and I would have instantly bought it, but there's just not. So I'm going to wait. If any of you know if that's like just a matter of time, because I swear I feel like I've bought single patterns from Pom Pom magazine. Maybe I'm misremembering that, but I'm curious if that'll happen over time. If it does, I'm doing it, because the color, and I think they would be so cute with Birkenstocks. I always wear Birkenstocks, and socks and stocks are a look. It's like, it's so ugly, it's cute, kind of like a bulldog. You're like, wow, is that ugly or is that cute? No, it's cute. It's crossed the line. We've decided to call socks and stocks cute. But those are on I got my eye on you, Euphorium socks. I think they'd be so cute in the summer. So anyway, check those out. Tell me what you think. And if you've made them, tell me if they were fun to knit, because they do look fun to knit. And I have this gorgeous Wandering Flock mohair left over from this sweater I made. I think it was the colorway Cosmic Tie-Dye. Is that right? Something like that. I love Wandering Flock. Do you guys? I love Wandering Flock. I'm obsessed. I actually was in Denver. My family and we went to Denver last weekend, and we swung by Fancy Tiger Crafts. If you've never heard of it, it's this incredible store in Denver. They have fabric and fiber, and oh my God, I'm so regretful that I hadn't planned. Like, I didn't think that we were going to be able to go there. And if I had, I would have like thought about what I could have purchased, because they have so many yarns in stock that I never get to see. They have Wandering Flock, they have La Bien-Aimée, and they have Spincycle. And we have a lot of fiber stores in Boulder. We're very lucky, but I don't think any of the Boulder fiber stores have any of those brands, and I love all of them. But I didn't have a plan, and I hate buying just off the top of my head. Like, I just end up then being tortured that I'm not using some yarn that I spent a lot of money on. So I like to have a plan for things before I buy them. But of course I didn't. But I just snuggled the fiber anyway. They had a lot of La Bien-Aimée sport weight that I thought was so beautiful. Not enough. They had one color. I think it was peanut butter and jelly. It was so gorgeous in person. I'm telling you guys, you know that fiber doesn't look the same on the computer screen as it does in person. And just like to feel it and see it. Oh, but they only had one skein left. So I didn't get it because I didn't have a plan for it. They also had, I got to see Ghost Ranch by Spincycle in person. And now I understand why everybody's obsessed with that colorway. It is gorgeous. Gorgeous. I would totally use Ghost Ranch in a project. I think maybe like the Pressed Flowers cardigan would be great. That's like on my to-do list this year. I love that cardigan. So yeah, if you ever are in Denver or Boulder, first of all, let me know and I want to meet you. Second of all, Fancy Tiger Crafts. So much fun. It is just a dream. I could sit there all day long, all day. All right, last time at close, I forgot to tell you what books I was reading. And I was bummed because listening to audiobooks is such a big part of my life. And it's such a big part of my knitting life. It's so enriching for me. I love the rhythm of knitting plus being told a story. I think it's the most soothing combination of things in the world. Throw a cup of coffee in and just personal heaven. I just finished The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin. Highly recommend. She wrote Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which I talked about before, which is probably my favorite book ever now. I loved it so much. So I had to start diving into her back catalog, and this was a fabulous read. Awesome on audiobook. The narration was just perfect. Loved the narrator. It has like this perfect, to me, like winter feel, even though the book itself is not set in winter. It just is cozy. There's something about the book that is cozy. I loved it. Gabrielle Zevin is just fabulous. I am just obsessed with her. The book I'm reading now is French Braid by Anne Tyler. I really like it. I don't love it in the same way that I loved the Zevin books, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm reading it on audiobook. I get all my audiobooks from Libro FM. They support independent bookstores, so it's like win-win for me. Just like I like to support local yarn shops, and I know y'all do too. Libro FM gives money to independent bookstores to, that's how they process their books. So it's awesome. This book, French Braid, don't love the narrator as much, but it's a good book. I think it would be a great book to just read like old school book style. So if that interests you, give it a gander. And that is all the recommendations I have for things to listen to. I hope you have a lovely week. I hope you get to knit this weekend. It is Saturday here. It is so cold and snowy, and it's fabulous knitting weather. And whether you are somewhere cold and snowy or warm and sunny, get your knitting out, gift yourself that time. Know that you're amazing, that you are just such wonderful viewers, and I appreciate you so, 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 so much. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, and I can't wait to see you next time. Happy knitting. See ya.